Okay.
Today is Monday, November 18th, 2024, and this is the regular scheduled board meeting of the Pocahontas Public Schools. I'll turn it over to you, Dr. Arbuckle.
Okay, tonight we're going to start with one of my favorite parts of when we get the opportunity to do this. We're going to recognize some of our students and some of our staff members and those associated with the school board and school district. So we're going to start out by recognizing cross country. We had 3 individuals who went to the state meet and competed for Pocahontas at the state meet. And one of the things I like to do is I like to recognize those kiddos who make it that far, because that's a pretty big accomplishment to make it to a state competition and compete against the best in the state of Arkansas. And in cross country this year, we had 3 of those young folks who did that. So we've got a little certificate for them. I'm going to call Miss. I thought I saw Miss Fish here somewhere.
Miss Frazier.
Frazier, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had preschool on my mind. Come on up. Miss Frazier, she is the coach of the cross-country team as well as the swim team. She does several things for us, as do most of our staff members. And she has 3 individuals, I think 2 with you this evening?
No, just the one.
Just one. Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your season and?
I wrote my notes down. So at the state meet, Brent Whiteley, he finished 52nd out of 232 runners. And then Stephen, that is here tonight, he ran injured, so he ended up placing 228. And then Leona Winslow, she was my female, and she ran 9th grade all year. Well, she's in 9th grade, so she ran junior high all year, which she only had to do 1.5 miles for the most of the season. Then at state, she moved up to do the 3 miles, so that was her first time running the 3 miles, and she finished 86 out of 187. And back up for the season, Brett Whiteley won. He was the champion for our 4A3 district conference meet that we had combined with the 5A, because we only had 4 teams. Brooklyn, Westside, us, and who was there? Oh, Highland. Those 4 teams, so we joined the 5A, but Brent won for our division.
Good.
Stephen's my one that's here.
Stephen, come on up, sir. Congratulations. We've got a little picture for you there. Thank you for representing Pocahontas. Let's get a quick picture real quick. Ms. Frazier, why don't you come on over and get a picture of you?
U? Okay. T. Okay. But it's pronounced T. Okay.
You stand on that. Excellent.
There we go.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, sir. Thank you. Well done.
You want me to take those together?
Yes, please, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, our second presentation, we have Miss Roxy Hsu. She is going to be presenting her speech. I believe it's entitled "Growing the Future: The Importance of Encouraging More People to Farm." Roxy's here with Mr. Washburn. I believe, from what I understand, Roxy was awarded first place at the Spring River Sub-Area Speaking Contest, and will be performing this speech again at the district competition in Jonesboro, and so we're going to give her a little bit of practice.
Thank you all for having me. When I was in elementary school, I always looked forward to Fridays. Fridays when we got to play games or cool visitors would come and visit our class. One Friday, I remember specifically. Our special visitor was Mrs. Kelly, a professor at the local university in my hometown. She asked us what we wanted to be when we grew up. A variety of answers came as we went around the room. because it has become an increasingly difficult industry that young people have basically given up trying to get into. Hi, my name is Roxy Shue, and I am proudly representing the Pocahontas FFA chapter. And I believe one of the most pressing issues in the agriculture industry right now is the decreasing number of farms and the increasing age of farmers every year in the United States. According to the USDA's Consensus of Agriculture, in 2022, the average age of the American farmer is 58.1 years old, which is about a half-year increase from the previous consensus taken in 2017. It also showed an increase of 12% in farmers over the age of 65 and a decrease of 9% in farmers aged 35 to 64. The 2022 consensus also reported that there was a decrease in farms of 6.9% to 1.9 million. In the last 5 years in the United States, we have seen a 20 million acre decline of farmland. To put this loss into perspective, it would be like losing all of the northeastern states apart from Connecticut. Following this consensus, the United States Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack, stated that Americans should take this as a serious wake-up call. Another alarming statistic from the American Farm Bureau Association states that the majority of American consumers are at least 3 generations removed from the farm. Now, we can all recognize that this is a serious problem. But the question now is, how do we fix it? How do we stop family farms from continuing to disappear? And how do we get more people into the farming industry? One of the major reasons that very few people get into the farming industry now is because of how expensive it is to try and start yourself. Let's travel back about 60 years. In 1963, a new John Deere combine would have cost you $8,000 to $10,000, tax included. That same year, a bushel of corn sold for $1.20, and here in Arkansas, the average cost of land was about $140 per acre. Fast forward 60 years, in 2023, and you are now paying anywhere between $500,000 to a whopping $1 million for combine, and land here in Arkansas is now $4,500 per acre. But the price of a bushel of corn is now only being sold for $4.31. Farmers are now paying over 100 times what they did back then for equipment, and the cost of land is exponentially high, but they've only increased a few dollars for their revenue. Now think of someone having to pay for multiple pieces of equipment, land, seed, and fertilizer to not make it back in their revenue. One way I believe we can curb this specific problem is to implement more tax cuts for farmers and provide more aid. Since the end of World War II, the United States has given out $3.8 trillion to countries for foreign aid. In just 2023, the United States provided $61 billion to countries for foreign aid, but only provided about $20 billion in subsidies for farmers. I believe the government needs to put farmers in the forefront of their minds and help provide more aid, especially to young farmers who are just trying to get into the industry. There needs to be more government programs to help young people afford the necessary equipment it takes to start farming. There needs to be more programs like the Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program, which is currently the only federal program exclusively dedicated to training the next generation of farmers and ranchers by providing them with the technical, production skills, and business skills they need to start a successful farm. This program brings retiring landowners and farmers with the new farmers so they can get the vocational training skills and experience they need to start a farm. Apart from the obvious expense issues, why does no one else want to become a farmer anymore? For the last several decades, there has been a major push to go to college. Schools and society started to tell kids that if you wanted to have a successful career, you must go to college. And after going to college for an extra 4 years and accumulating an outstanding amount of debt, who would want to go back and work on the farm? And while this push is not inherently a bad thing, because yes, we do need people like doctors and lawyers, we also need blue-collar workers helping to keep our country fed and running. As a society, more than the median annual salary of $48,000 across all wages. As a society, we need to start encouraging more people to look into farming as a career. With the number of farms decreasing and the population of our nation continuing to increase, it will only get more and more difficult to keep our country fed. We also need to put a much bigger emphasis on ag education programs throughout high schools and colleges. A study done by the National 4-H Council in Bayer in 2018 showed that only 22% of high schools in the United States had agri-science curriculums. This means that agri-science curriculums that included food and nutritional science and animal science were missing from 78% of high schools in the nation. Curriculums like these are how we expose students to agriculture and help them form an interest for the industry. We need more curriculums like this because without them, how will students without a previous background in agriculture learn and get involved in it? As agriculturists, it is our responsibility to tell our story to the public. We need to let people know that not only is farming one of the most essential jobs, it can also be one of the most rewarding. As agriculturists who hope for a better tomorrow, we need to get out and advocate for this great industry. We need to educate people on the importance of farming, and we need to encourage people to choose farming as a career so our great industry can live on. Thank you.
Roxy, thank you for sharing that.
First place.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That was impressive. Daniel.
Roxy, we also have a little certificate for you.
Okay, thank you.
You can.
And that means we're gonna make Miss Holt take more pictures.
When is your competition? December?
December 3rd.
You can.
Sorry, sorry.
Okay. We also have the opportunity this evening to recognize some of our staff members and those associated with the school district. As you may or may not be aware that the newspaper, I think it was several weeks at this point, maybe a month ago, they put out a under 50 in Pocahontas to watch, and we had 5 of those individuals associated with the school district, and so I thought it'd be good to recognize them at this time because those are the individuals who are a part of leading our schools, leading our district into the next few years. So I'm going to start with Coach Casey Chester. Coach Chester was a part of that group. We're going to get pictures of everybody all at once.
Okay.
So
You got a really big win in front of you.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's why we started with him. All right. High school principal, Mr. Christian Helms. Congratulations. Our very own Craig Green. Craig's favorite part of the night. And then we have one of our board members, Miss Ruth Holt. And one of our future board members, Mr. Chris Robinson. Chris, congratulations. If you guys will stand in front of there, we'll get a quick picture and. Excellent. Thank you. Congratulations, all of you. Thank you, sir. We have one other recognition that I'd like to make tonight. On 1st November, we had the election, and Ruth was up for that seat, and she's going to be leaving the board in the next week. And, I want to say how much I appreciate Ruth. Ruth asks me hard questions all the time. She's probably going to continue to ask me hard questions, and I hope you do. This, I'm just going to say, and maybe I'm sure everybody in my position would say this, but this board is, I'm going to say special to me because this is a board that gave me a chance to be the superintendent. And it takes a special board to come together and say, yeah, we're gonna give this guy who has not ever been a superintendent before the opportunity to do that. And so I appreciate all of you very much, but I want to tell Ruth I appreciate you for giving me the opportunity, for allowing me to join Pocahontas, and for guiding the Pocahontas board for the last 2 years.
Thank you. My pleasure.
We have something for you, but this is not it.
Okay.
Because it doesn't have your name on it.
Okay.
But they were supposed to come in this afternoon, but we ordered one of these.
Very
It's going to have your name and your service on it, and then I will give that to you. But this is what I'm showing you.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So thank you very much for providing your time and your energy to Pocahontas School District.
It's been a pleasure.
So I appreciate it very much. So. Anything you want to say, or?
No.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. All right. So with that, I appreciate everybody being here. Item 3 is the approval of minutes. So you have in front of you in your packet the board minutes from our regular meeting on October 21st, our special meeting on October 28th, and the work session for that happened on November 4th. If you'd look over those, obviously if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer those. Otherwise, we would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from those 3 board meetings.
Make a motion.
Been a motion and a second to approve the 3 meetings that the board has had. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Oh, okay, I gotta get back into this because sign out and sign back in. Sorry, technical difficulties here. Okay. Gary, you made the motion, and then Chad, you seconded it, right?
Vice versa.
Other way around, okay. Gonna take Chad off this one. Okay, now we're going. Okay. We'll move on to section 4. Section 4.1 is our school level report to the public. We're going to start with the man holding the baby back there. And Mr. Carter's going to give us a quick report of 2024-2025.
I'm going to grab Chris's hammer. There's nothing there. Okay, I think Dr. Arbuckle shared with you the PowerPoint.
Yes.
Okay. The basic information we go in to start with the total number. That's actually, of course, from last week. We're up to 3 more today. We had 3 more students, so 684 is our total count of the building as of this morning. Staff increased a little bit this year. We went up to 84. Total staff members, 51, certified, 33 classified in that count. The data, of course, is always the most interesting part. The 3rd slide or 4th slide is going to be 3rd grade Atlas from the spring of 24. So you can see math and literacy, how we basically compare with the state. Level 1 is limited knowledge of standards, needs, intensive support, or in need of intensive support. Level 2, basic knowledge of standards, needing individual support. Level 3 is proficient. Level 4 is advanced knowledge of standards. So you see we're comparable with the state. The largest gap is on level 4. We have 7% ready in 3rd grade in math. The state shows that they have, are advanced. The state shows that they have 12%. In literacy, again, very similar, running along with the state. 24 in level 3, 24% for us in level 3, 23% with the state. And the advanced knowledge, we're at 11, they're at 13. So we're very close at the state level in those areas. That, of course, is what we get our grade on. What I'm about to tell you next are some screeners. But that 3rd grade atlas is what the state, or what we receive a letter grade on. The next page is the atlas screener from this past fall. There was some delay in it. It was supposed to be given within the first 30 days of school. The state wasn't ready. We finally were able to give it in September, a little bit over 30 days, I think. But, of course, we were following with what the state was providing. The ready, of course, the most interesting will be the ready numbers. Well, both are interesting. We have to be completely aware, and you're going to get more information about the potential risks, what we're doing for those in the next few slides. But kindergarten, 51% with the state of 66. 1st grade, 44. You see a larger gap there. State being at 61%. 2nd grade, 66, and the state at 71%. 3rd grade is 0 because we didn't do a math screener for 3rd grade. We did do the lit, and that's on the next page. Okay, for the screener and lit, these are looking at 2 different items depending on the grade level, not 2 different items, but 2 different scopes. 1st grade, 2nd grade, or 1st grade and kindergarten, we're going to be looking at phonics, phonemic awareness, coding and encoding. 2nd grade and 3rd grade are going to be more focused on comprehension and or reading fluency. Again, you can see where we rank according to the state in the ready column or the potential risk column. 5% behind in kindergarten, a little bit larger gap, 29 to 37% in 1st. Closed a little bit in 2nd grade, only 3% difference there between us and the state. And 3rd grade, the gap is the largest. We have 4%, they have 12% at the state, across the state level.
It's a state average?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, those are alarming, no matter which way you look at it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which column you look at, yeah. The 3rd grade, that being the largest gap. But remember too, that is at ready, so that's advanced and at ready. So the potential risk, within that grouping, you're going to find at risk and potential risk. So that 96% in 3rd grade is not all at risk, they're potential. Because within the testing, they have different sections, different categories. And if they fell at risk in one of the 4, then they were marked as potential. They literally could have been at risk or potential risk in one of the 4 categories and fall in that number. So they could be 3 out of the 4 perfectly on level and ready to go. But as an overall classification, one area of weakness marked them as potential risk.
Okay.
With those numbers being alarming, I agree with you. One promising note is the next slide. Last year, out of the 14 schools within the co-op, we ranked number 10. We moved to number 5 this year within the co-op. So that's a promising point. We don't have necessarily what the state cutoff is going to be and what our ranking is going to be, but we know that we improved 5 positions within the co-op. So that is promising. We don't, as I said, don't know the exact result of that, but we move up a 1/3 of the group. Within the top 1/3 of the group, we've made growth and improvement within this area. So addressing those at risk, we have a few programs that we're working on. HIT, which of course is new this year, high impact tutoring. That is daytime, one-on-one Zoom, not one-on-one, point in time tutoring, live tutoring. So we have students logging on, could be 4 to 5 students logging on with the same tutor, depending on their need, all the way across the building. All first grade will tutor, or half of first grade tutors at the same time. So you may have 4 kids from 4 different rooms, all with the same tutor online. And we do that 3 days a week for 30 minutes. These are the numbers that we're addressing per grade. You can see in first and second, we're at 96 each. Third grade drops off to 59. This was based on the assessment taken at the beginning of the year in-house. So the number drastically dropped off in third grade, a little bit over half. Kindergarten you don't see here because that is not, they don't receive high impact tutoring at the moment. Then of course we have our traditional RTI, dyslexia interventions. Dyslexia numbers in third grade are the highest. Of course those are students that have grown with us from first grade through third. And tier 3 interventions, these two programs are very similar. They receive 30 minutes a day. Dyslexia is 4 days a week, and tier 3 is 4 days a week. But it's small group interventions, and those are pullouts in most cases, where they go into a small group setting and receive tutoring from individuals. We have maintained the same curriculum. 95% is our phonics program. We do have that up through third grade. And Wonders Literacy is our third grade. Kindergarten, that was deleted off. Kindergarten through second is open court for our comprehension. Sorry about that, didn't realize that was missing. And of course, kindergarten through third, everyone is doing everyday math. And then our intervention program is Sonday Systems for dyslexia. So one of the things that we started last year was a classroom mastery, skill mastery. These are basically the lessons being taught from the curriculum based on the standards. We are continuing this. Matter of fact, we're going to be meeting on it again this week to make sure that we have good data on the student mastery of those. And we've broken that down this year instead of just the lessons, but to the actual skills. So we're monitoring performance or mastery of those individual skills per grade, per classroom, per student. And that should give us plenty of data to go back and say, yes, we've mastered this. In kindergarten, do they carry it over? One thing we have to implement this year, which we didn't last year, was rechecking that at the end of the year to make sure that they retain it. Something that we taught in September, we marked it off as mastery, and we may not address it again through the rest of the year. So that was a problem that we faced. We had the strongest kindergarten group move to first grade this year. Kindergarten skills, according to our in-house mastery data. When they got to first, there was some conflict on whether they really retained it all. So we're adding that component of progress monitoring the retention of the kindergarten information after each 9 weeks. So
You don't think it was just summer? You don't think it's summer? You think it's throughout the year in kindergarten that they're not?
We can't help a whole lot with the summer, but
Sure.
the one thing we can address is, hey, we can monitor it. If they still don't show mastery of first 9-week skills in the winter or in the third quarter, now we can reteach it. So it's just a proactive thing we can do. Yeah, you can have regression over the summer.
Sure.
But it's just that little bit more that we just want to check. We do have the after-school Redskin Academy. I know that y'all have heard quite a bit about that. The high-impact tutoring we talked about. We are continuing the science of reading teacher observations as required by the state. And Dr. Arbuckle's given us the challenge of 20 classroom visits a week. That's a lot.
20 classroom visits a week?
Yes, ma'am. And documented, notated. So we are working on
Specifically
that.
for literacy? Like during their literacy time?
Well, the idea is we can't help guide instruction if we don't know what instruction looks like.
Sure.
Right, what is that instruction happening? And so that's where Sean's talking about. One of the things we talked about early on was the need for administrators to be in classrooms watching instruction, seeing what kids are doing, being able to guide that instructional work. And so we just put a number to it.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
I think Mr. Helms created a form, and we've all kind of adopted it into our building. So we are using that as documentation just to collect the information and retain it for review with the teachers.
Okay.
We're continuing the PLC. That's been difficult this year, but it is one of the things that teachers continuously ask for, is that we need time to work together in order to make sure that our pacing stays common, that our assessments are common, and that's something that we've stayed committed to.
Is that difficult because you can't get substitutes? Why is it difficult?
That's a large portion of it, yes. We are very, very short on subs. The other is we try to avoid, and it's almost impossible at this point, but we try to avoid the core instruction, that 90 minutes of lit, and this year we've set aside 90 minutes of math, daily too. And you just can't avoid those every single day. Also, we don't want to interrupt the HIT, the high impact tutoring time, so it's just a scheduling review every single time we try to figure, every single time we try to have a meeting. But, as I said, teachers ask for it, continuously ask for it. So, matter of fact, we're doing a couple of days on it this week. We talked about that this morning. The other that we are continuing is the letters, actually not continuing but started. There was the time where the state came through and we were required to go through the science of reading training, and letters was part of that. But as Dr. Arbrock and I spoke about it, that was only a small portion of the full letters training. So this year, all teachers K-5, I believe, are going through the letters. And it is pretty much a 2-year program, college level academics, where they are producing student studies. And I think our next meeting will be in January with those trainers. We have increased our family involvement. We're trying to get back to what we were before COVID. We've already had one literacy night, and we've tried to plan these strategically. For example, that literacy night was the week of Halloween, so you came dressed as your favorite character. Well, I had a lot of Batman stories, but that fell into place and ended up being a nice trunk or treat with interactive games, things like that. We've got Winter Festival coming up before the break at Christmas. Matter of fact, our presentations, musicals, we've got one tomorrow night with 3rd grade, and we have another one before Christmas with 2nd grade. Kids of Character were added, I believe, this is our 2nd year for that. Our counselors go across the district, at least through the elementary, pointing out and teaching kids of character traits. This month is generosity. We have an assembly every month to recognize those students and staff. Staff is able to nominate members to be recognized for that month's character trait as well. And again, we continue the guidance counseling. The anti-bullying lessons is huge, simply because we're trying to, we started this before school started, we want to identify what bullying is. Make it very clear that just because it's called bullying doesn't mean that it actually is bullying. So I know the counselor is working on that in classrooms with groups, trying to define the difference in being aggravated and being bullied. So that is a huge discussion. Well, I know that y'all seen it on Facebook. And we've got the GT program as always. That's a full class presentation or instruction. K2 and 3rd grade is where we identify them for individual small group GT programs.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Carter?
Very good.
Yeah, I've got one.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at last year's report you gave. Is there any way to compare those numbers? I know it's a ACT comparison, but I guess now it's out, so it's completely different.
So the state says we're not supposed to.
Right.
They say, we know you're going to, but don't do that. What we will do, so that's one of the reasons, Sean pointed out, like, the jump from 10th place to 5th place. Right now,
That's the only thing you can.
that's the only thing you can line up. Where was everybody last year on the same instrument? Where was everybody this year all on the same instrument? And then You know, the last year, the ACT Aspire was really a predictor for whether or not a third grader could get a 19 on the ACT when they become eligible to take it, right? That's what this is now, their mastery of standards, content level standards. And so until the gross scores come out, which the state will produce a gross score, where they will take that Atlas test, they will compare it to the ACT Aspire test, and the way they do that is by changing both of them to a Z-score, and statistically that's comparing apples to apples, right? So in essence, they change an orange to an apple by creating a Z-score, then comparing those two scores to see what the growth was, and then reporting out that growth score. So until they do that, which is what they've said is probably not going to be until January, February, then the best that I feel like we have is how well do we do compared to our local group, which is our educational co-op. But in January, we'll be able to answer that question with those growth scores, because we will be able to compare growth score from one to growth score from the other.
Yeah, there's 4 categories on the last year's report. There's only 2 categories on this year's report. So you could potentially take exceeding and ready and lump them into ready, and you could potentially take mid-support and close and lump them into potential ready, I would think.
Okay, well, those are, so really what you want to do is you want to compare the 4 categories from the ACT Aspire with the 4 categories on the Atlas, right? Because on the Atlas, it's level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. And that's what Sean was kind of explaining is level 1 is very similar to the needs improvement, right? They need a lot of help. The challenge becomes in level 2 with the Atlas test, the state is saying that level 2 is grade level work, but with help, right? So a kiddo who is scoring at the level 2 in the Atlas, they can do grade level work, they just struggle to do grade level work on their own, right? In level 3, these are kiddos who can do grade level work without more support. They can do it on their own in essence. And what the state is saying is, while level 2 is on grade level, because those kiddos need like prodding and extra help, we're not going to give credit to you as a school district for those kiddos as proficient. We're only going to give you credit for the level 3 kiddos. And so there's a lot of confusion in school leadership around the state right now on how do we communicate out that level 2 is on grade level. It's just not on grade level enough, if you follow me, right? That we're going to give credit from a proficiency standpoint. So when we get our A, B, C, D, F grade, it's going to be centered on the number of kiddos in level 3 and the number of kiddos in level 4. The kiddos who don't need more support or don't need more help to accomplish the grade level standards. And so it's a little bit confusing because in essence we're telling parents if you have a kiddo who scored in level 2, they are scoring at grade level. They just need extra help and support to get there. Right? Although the school isn't going to get credit for those kiddos in the grading process.
And within the exam, the 4 categories of the exam, they may only have shown need in 1 of the 4. So we're arguing, hey, 3 out of the 4, they were independent and on level. But because of the 1, we don't get that 3.
And what the screener is saying, you know, to Sean's point, right, under the LEARNS Act, that screener is supposed to happen within the first 30 days of school. The state wasn't ready to do that this year, and so they pushed it back and said, well, you have to give it before middle of October in essence, right? And so that screener is saying this kiddo either has or doesn't have the skill set that we would expect them to have on, month 1 of that grade. And so there is some heartburn that's created when we test kindergartners in the first 30 days of school, and if they don't know 14 letters already in the first, 2 weeks of school, then they're deemed at risk. I mean, that's what we're saying as a state right now.
Yeah, that's not an example, that is actual.
That is actual, right? And so, we're having some conversations at the legislative level on, is there something that we can do to help alleviate that? Because unless we are going to, as a state, have universal pre-K, then it's very difficult to tell a parent of a 4-year-old, your kiddo has to know 14 letters before they start kindergarten.
Well, in the first 2 weeks, your kindergartner is still crying.
And that's the point, right? Now think about it from a parent standpoint, because all of us are parents here, right? How would you feel your kiddo starts school, they're in school for 2 weeks, and then the teacher says, by the way, your kindergartner who's been here for 2 weeks is already behind. Yeah. That's a tough pill to swallow. Yeah. It's like they've only been here 2 weeks, and you're telling me they're already behind?
Yeah.
And so those are some of the tweaks that, we'll be looking for in upcoming legislation, hopefully, to sort of think about that.
Now, we started 3rd grade interim this morning, so this is our mid-year interim for 3rd, and the K2 interim has been moved back to January. We got notice of that last week. So we'll have more numbers. I mean, once they finish it, log out, we'll have those numbers next week from 3rd grade.
What point is it that the parents come in and they register the kids for kindergarten? What month is it roughly?
April is when we start. It's the second Tuesday in April, we always have a drive.
Okay. Let's fix it. Say, do we pass along our expectations, what we would like for their kid to know by we're giving them this information 6 months in advance?
Now that we have those kindergarten ready expectations, the state has produced those, given those, I think last year's a sample, this year's more concrete, we definitely will be, yes.
And that's true, because remember, it's only been in the last 6 to 9 months that preschool has moved out of HHS and into the Department of Education, right? So when it was under HHS, the focus was, in essence, on learning through play, right? There wasn't really a literacy focus in preschool at that point.
We would actually be given demerit or marks down if they were taught teaching in the preschool classroom. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And remember, this year we trained our preschool teachers in Launchpad. That's the literacy curriculum. So now with our 60 preschool kiddos, we have a little bit more control over what that looks like, and our goal is to produce at least 60 kindergartner kiddos next year who do know 14 letters coming into preschool.
Maybe we can provide a flashcard packet we can give to mothers that are bringing a kid during that May or March, when you say.
Yeah, for registration.
So, hey, take it home, help your child get started for school,
Yeah, we can,
I think part of the responsibility of the parent is to teach your kids at home too.
For sure, yeah, but if we can encourage them to do it by giving them a packet with some flashcards that are already there, they don't have to go searching for them in Walmart.
now, we've always given them a packet of letters and numbers and things like that, games, but this will be more specific to what the state says they should help them.
I will say this, and I don't want to cut you off, so go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, we have to be very careful that what we provide parents is science of reading appropriate, right? And so we have to provide, if we're going to provide those kind of things, I'm all for that, we have to provide them in a way that parents are walking kids through, not just what is the letter, but what is the letter, what sound does it make, how do we know what sound it makes, what shape should your mouth make? I mean, those are the things that our teachers are learning in letters, and they're learning through the science of reading, professional developments, and things like that. And so, you know, yes, we can do those things. We just have to make sure that we're doing those in a way that is appropriate given the state's focus on science of reading and what we know is good practice about teaching kids to read.
It also needs to be something that any person, no matter their demographic, would be able to teach that at home to that 4-year-old.
Correct.
I mean, you know, you are going to have some barriers there. So that's a tough one for you, Sean.
Yeah, because we continuously have to recalibrate. Blair's here tonight, she can tell you, I'll call her and say, hey, will you go back to this staff member and make sure that the letter sounds are being correctly produced. So yeah, it's a constant for us as well.
Is there a demand or is there room for growth in preschool where we can get more than 60 students in there?
There's no building.
Well, and that's the art. Wow.
Now, we did increase our ABC numbers. Talk about that. We did increase our ABC slots and reduced our parent pay number this past year. But that also has a lot to do with Head Start, how many spots are available or needed within the county.
But our challenge is, you know, a lot of, because you'll hear that, right? If the state will provide more ABC slots, we could fill them. Our challenge is just what Ruth's talking about. We're locked in that, I mean, we're maxed out our preschool facility, and in order to, even if the state said we're going to give you, you know, 100 more ABC spots, we don't have a place to put them. Right. We'd have to, you know, plan for that growth.
So is Head Start kind of mandated the same way as far as teaching what we're needing them to know?
Yes, they run ABC classrooms as well.
But not all of their classrooms are ABC. So they are mandated in their ABC classrooms. They are not mandated in those in Head Start and the other classrooms.
Now, one other point is all of our preschool teachers went through letters last year.
Okay.
So they're on the same page as the rest of them.
Okay. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Linder, you're up, sir.
If Miss Sheets wouldn't have left, I was going to see if she would do my presentation. She done a great job, so.
She did a
She
really
did
good job.
outstanding, so. MVWs, enrollment, we'll start with that. Total enrollment 400. We have a class, if you look at those numbers, 5th grade has a class of 118. They've been tiny all the way up. They've been a small group. Even the 138 number in 4th is a little lower than normal. Our typical, I think if we go back in the past, the 144 to 160 range is a normal. We just kind of had some low numbers. I think looking at Mr. Carter, he's got some bigger groups coming up in the future, and this just was a odd few years, I guess. But we're down 30 from where we were at last year at this time, or within a month of that. Good news is, I think today we enrolled, and Friday, I think these are the numbers from, I think, Thursday. I believe we've enrolled 3 or 4 more since last Friday. So I'm not sure. I don't think anyone has left in the last few days. But teachers and staff about the same as we've been. We got 6 teachers in each grade. If you'll remember, 5th or 6th grade, even though that was our larger number, we started out with 5 teachers. We added 1 because we got to our numbers where we were, I think we got to within 1 of being over our limit there. So that worked out well. No big changes. Alternative education, we have 1 teacher, para in there, 4 special ed teachers. Got activity teachers that use combination of teachers and paraprofessionals, about 58 total, and that includes like cafeteria staff and people like that. So when we get down to the data, got Atlas data. A lot of this is very similar to what Mr. Carter said as far as I wish we had something to compare this to, but at this time we do not. But when you look at the numbers, I started out with math on that level 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1 being the lower, 4 being advanced. When you look at our level 1, 2, and 3, they are pretty close to the state, and our level 1s and 2s kind of consistent, and we're 2 or 3 percentage points more than the state, so we need to try to get those up. But when we go to our level 3, we are even, or we're 3 or 4% above the state average. So like if you look at that 5th grade, the state average was 24%. And we're at 28. Same with 6th grade was even, or 4th grade was even. If you look at the 6th grade, the state average was 25%. We're at 27. So those are good. That's a good thing. When you look at the advanced, we're a little below or even. 5th grade was pretty strong, even in the advanced, both knocking out 14%. So pretty proud of that. Go to the next page, it's the same breakdown, but it is of the literacy data. And it's similar, very similar. We're within 2 or 3% usually of the state. Some were a little bit 2 or 3% lower. We have a couple that are 7 or 8%. The math, where I'm bragging on 5th grade in the math department, we were either even or better. We do have a few that were 7 or 8% lower than we would like. But for the most part, we are 3 or 4% within that state average. Next page kind of is that ranking with the co-op that we were talking about. 4th grade, last year's 13th. I think that was, do we have 13 or 14?
14.
14, so we're almost at the bottom. They moved up to 8th place within the co-op, so pretty nice gain there. Same way, 5th grade moved from 11th to 9th. 6th grade, unfortunate, moved from 9th to 11th. We've got some room there. Breaking some of that down, with 6th grade, we've done a lot of things, or 5th grade last year too, we've done a lot of different things with going back to phonics and hitting those basic needs that we were lacking at. And when you start breaking down some of these newer Atlas scores, you do see that where we struggled the last couple years in phonics and things like that, we've mastered that. We've done really good with that. So I see that the work that we done last year did pay off in some of those categories. That's one of the things that in our PLCs and our meetings right now we're really looking at is what specific things did we do well in, and what did we do well, what do we need to do, how do we need to take some of those things that we've done well in and transfer them to new standards. That's one of the biggest, pieces of data I think that we have with this atlas is you can virtually break down every standard to where your kid scored in it, and the teachers. So we're kind of looking at grade level and going down to individual kids even that way. So we do have the schedule. We just done our first interim ACT test. We just finished those up. Just kind of getting the results of that. We are going to be trying to compare those results to our summative that we took last year and trying to look at some comparisons there, because that will be the first time that we actually have the same test or similar test. It is a little different format even though it is Atlas test, but we're hoping to find some similarities there where we can start tracking data with apples to apples, I guess, instead of comparing it back to that ACT score.
Chris, when you're breaking it down by the standards and potentially by student, right? Addressing that, are you going to be able to do it at the classroom level, or will it be at different times? Or is it going to catch? Like, how are you going to look at actually
probably the start is the plan. That's what we're talking about, is more of a classroom level, but as we keep breaking it down, the hope is with, and this kind of goes with all of the elementary, I think, with this iReady that we have now. Of course, there's a couple different ways you can do that. They take a test and it sets their path and they start working with that. But there is another way where you can actually assign specific and individual work to those kids. So
Based on their deficiency?
based on, yes. So like if, we used to have another program similar to that, but what you can do is if this kid is lacking in, numbers and operations in math, and this kid has got that, but they're lacking in the algebra part, you can assign specific skills and make them work on those skills. So hopefully that individualizes everyone's remediation. I mean, puts a little bit on the teacher as far as coming in there and getting that done. That's why right now we're looking at, we done the, I guess you call it automatic, where they take the screener and it assigns the remediation based on how their screener looked, but there are ways to go in there and actually specifics. So that, I hope in the future, do want to see a little more data before, because that is going to be pretty time consuming to break that down and start creating those paths. So if we have a couple interims, especially under our belt, and we can see exactly, I know the ACT test and the iReady, it does correlate, but they still are two different companies doing two different things. So have one goal in the process, but I think when we see those interim scores, that will.
Well, and one of the reasons we chose to do iReady is because they showed us that they are measuring our kiddos' abilities against those standards, right? Just like Atlas is supposed to be measuring our kiddos' ability against the standards. So while they are two different companies, the idea is that when we look at this and we see that, and I may be skipping ahead, but when you're looking at the iReady data he's got on there, you're looking at the number of students who are 1 grade level below, 2 grade levels below. Well, that's based on the standards, right? And so the program then helps teachers see, okay, this is a standard that kiddo needs to work on, this is a standard they need to work on, we're okay in this standard. And one of the things I like about the process is there may be times where a teacher goes, okay, this kiddo didn't do well on this standard, but I know he's got it because I have this other data that has indicated to me that he knows it, so we're going to kind of keep moving.
That's my question about the scores, because obviously fourth grade and fifth grade are improving. Those fifth graders from last year didn't just lose that. So my thought is their puberty, their maturity, their age, their defiance of, I don't care anything about them.
Right. And there's a definite...
It's that age.
There's a definite difference between a fifth grader and a sixth grader. It's like walking into two different buildings.
Yes. Yes. And then I think it rolls over into seventh grade too. They just.
Right. Well.
So do they look from year to year, like let's say student A did good this year, but this year they did terrible. Like they just tanked.
I think that's where some of the growth will come from when we get that data. As far as us, yes, we look at it.
Yeah.
Because when we go with the teachers, they're trying to compare what's going on.
Right.
We've been great up until here, or we've been on a pattern like that. A lot of things, I think, with the way the new Atlas tests come about, we had a lot of teachers that even looked at it last year when the kids are testing and during rooms, and they're like, wow, that is not how I would have expected that question to be asked for a standard like that. So it opened up everyone's eyes, because it is vastly different than, say, the ACT or stuff that we've done in the past. And last year there was very little, they call them something else. I call them released items, and it's just practice questions. But wasn't a lot of that for a teacher to prepare or even the kid until they took some of those practice tests. And even after taking a lot of the practice questions last year, our kids got into it because we would talk to them and they're like, that was, well, never been asked a question like that. Or multi-part, you know, you get a question and that's tough on some of our kids that I guess they're trying to go question to question, and then there's 7 parts to the question, and that's kind of, if you start struggling a little on one, it looked like some of the questions were kind of linked to each other, and that's something a little different than what they do.
What they're used to.
We're hoping with the longer we're with it, the more we see it, you know, we're trying to schedule 2 more interims before summative. We're hoping that makes a difference, you know, practice. I think a lot of it with the younger kids is the familiarity of the test. When you look at something and you absolutely know, well, this is what they're looking for, makes a big difference, especially on those math, maybe not as much as the literacy side, but when you're writing essays, makes a bigger difference. You know, it's not as black and white, I guess.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we're assessing kids a lot right now.
Yeah.
We are assessing kids a lot. To the point where it starts making me ask questions about our ability to get tier 1 instruction done. Right? And I think that's right. And I think that's information that needs to be shared with the individuals who are making our rules around what's required of our kiddos in the testing world. So.
No, and it even goes as far as like, okay, we started the impact tutoring on that next page. I had some of those stats, you know. We had 50 kids in 4th grade, 55 in 5th, and 74 in 6th grade that are getting pulled. 6th grade has 2 different groups. They get pulled 2 different times because of band and some scheduling conflicts. But just those kids from the data they got, they've had 1,839 sessions. They've completed 153 standards just with, you know, just during that high impact tutoring. So, like I say, that's groups of 3 or 4. 4 is the cutoff limit for 1 tutor, but it does make you feel pretty good that they've actually hit 153, and it's not just hit, it is mastered 153 standards that, you know, maybe they specific to their level. So when those kids, we gave them a Lexile score, they grouped them according to that, and that tutor worked with them, and it is grade appropriate work for those kids. So that is 153 standards that maybe a struggling 6th grader may be on a 4th grade level, but it is specific to that. So if it is something they're missing, that the teacher would possibly not be able to get through because it's not a grade level work during that high impact tutoring they're covering. So I think we'll see some more benefit. I mean, we're seeing it, kids like it. It's a scheduling nightmare, but other than that, it's working pretty well. I've got those statistics on the iReady math on the next couple pages, and it does look pretty similar to the Atlas data. It's kind of hard to compare, but when you start looking at like the math is that first page, percent of students on or above overall grade level, 13% in 4th grade, 14 and 13 in 6th. That's pretty close to some of those other numbers we're looking, and I think Ruth had said it earlier that some of those statistics are, when you look at even the state, they're a little concerning and a little scary. We're close to the state, we're even in that, but
Still that state number.
I think the state number, you expect that state number to be much higher, or I think it should, and I agree. But the iReady, like I say, it is, we're using it, we use it every day, that's where the remediation comes from, but that is probably our biggest challenge now, is trying to make sure and compare, because we are graded on the Atlas test, not the iReady test, which it is correlated, but we do want to make sure that we're not missing anything. So that's the work of the PLC and our teachers during the day, in their preps right now. RTI and dyslexia, of course, we're hitting some of those, and all those scores reflect every kid. So if it is a kid with dyslexia or something, you know, their scores in there, they're tested the same as others. Right now, 17 kids in 4th grade, 13 in 5th, and 13 in 6th, and all those kids are getting pulled the 3 days a week in some Sunday systems with, we have 3 different paras that are trained in that under Miss Blair behind us there. She kind of makes sure that program's working. All of those students also are receiving the iReady intervention. We've kind of got a system where at the end of the day and right after some of the transitions, when we have some short times, the 5th grade kind of started it. I was sharing with Dr. Arbor today. There's a challenge of trying to complete at least 2 lessons a week in iReady, which is the remediation. So we've had some of the kids last week. We do a little award ceremony every week. It's a little short, 10 minutes. We had some that had completed 9 lessons. So the kids enjoy it, and that is a big part of it. If they do not enjoy it, it's kind of like the HIT tutoring. They enjoy it, they like it, they're talking to someone from another state, they're on their headphone with the microphone, and just them having a little, it creates a little interest in them to keep going. And we kind of incentivized it a little bit with extra recess here, or time with I think you get to spend time with the counselor, or I take you outside for extra recess, or something like that. So looking at that going pretty well. Curriculum, we've not really changed any curriculum from the last couple of years, other than we did add the iReady. Everyday math right now for all grades, Wonders Literacy, My World, Social Studies, Elevate Science, 95% group phonics program. That is not our base curriculum, but that is something we used a lot last year, not using it as much this year because it is a phonics based, and it's really kind of a 1st grade level curriculum. Those students that we have that fall in that category, that is something that we're using with them. Targeted improvement and some other things that we got, you know, the iReady, and that's our progress monitoring, the After School Redskin Academy, high impact tutoring. We are still doing the teacher observations, making sure that teachers are using their high quality instructional materials, as well as science of reading. We want to make sure we're using those skills. 95% targeted win time with a few of them there. The Sunday, we are doing PLCs. We've had professional development. The letters is what that's mainly in our building right now, about 2/3, and it goes up to 5th grade are doing the letters training. My 6th grade is not. They're doing some other things and breaking data down. Another thing we have that is not necessarily targeted improvement, but we have created a new parent center. We kind of split from the parent center that we had in the junior high. We created our own, and I guess we've been going about a month, but thing that I do like is we've already had several volunteers come in and work that parent center. A few of them being some retired teachers and some people that have worked here in the past, and some parents have come up and actually volunteered some hours in. So just trying to get some more of the public up into the school and see what goes on during the school day. You know, even some of our retired teachers that have come and worked for a couple hours. School is not the same as it was 10 years ago. It's very much different. But it's always good to those come in and kind of see that. Some other things we've just had, if you were at the Veterans Day, we had a big Veterans Day assembly. I think it was one of our better ones we've had.
It was.
It was really good. We had a super good turnout we had a schedule change because of band issues and competition, not the band's fault, but had a lot of compliments. We've actually had a lot of people call and say, hey, that is, I'm glad you had it and did not cancel due to the change. But still got some of our chair committee. That's the most highly sought after club at MD right now, I think, is the being able to put the chairs up and down. The kids absolutely love it. Kind of a leadership thing with them. But we have a library club going, fire marshals, track and field days. We call it reindeer games, and it's a little thing that it's just kind of like an indoor track and field day where the kids compete, and it brings the students and teachers. Usually there's a student versus teacher relay at the end. I almost suggest you come up and see that. I'll get you the date. Book club and AR reading. I think this year our AR reading is probably stronger than it has been. I think this is our third year. I think we've already got a few kids that's read, several kids that's read 600,000 words this year. Some, I think, are in the million class. That's kind of the highest category in it. Counselors doing her guidance lessons every week. She pulls from their activity. And Remarkable Redskin, she goes over that. And that's just the character trait she goes off of. Like this month, it's generosity. We have a staff that we try to recognize staff members and the students. Still, we had two PEs each week. That's kind of been a big deal with us. Kids being able to get extra PE kind of wears them out a little bit, but kids like it. I mean, and that's just it's not any extra time out of our day. It's just during our activity rotation, they've got two different PEs in there.
Did they just do that 9 weeks or one semester? What's the rotation?
The rotation, there's actually 6 rotations throughout it matches absolutely nothing as far as quarters or
That's
anything.
what Mary said.
But
I've got it again, and it's wait a minute.
it works to get our minimum requirements in is what it does. And what we do is we double up one of the PE classes, because what it amounted to is we have 5 days in the week, but we have 6 classes. So we need something to do with that other. And you kind of have 2 options when you're, probably more, but 2 options in my mind of what you can do with that activity rotation is either create that 6th activity class, which would be the extra PE, and that allows all of your teachers to go on prep at the same time. So you either have that, or you have different activity schedules during the day where you may have a combined activity rotation of some 4th, 5th, and 6th to have 4 periods of a rotation. But that means that the teachers are never on prep together in PLC time.
So that's when that's how y'all are.
That's how we do our PLC. So every day our 4th grade are all on break at their prep period is at 8:45 or 9:30. So they're able to meet every single day. It simplifies a lot of meetings throughout the day, whether it's SPED or whether it's if we have a dyslexia or 504 meeting or something like that. You don't have to think this group of teachers are here, and then the result is you've got 2 PE classes. So we're able to do that because I have 2 coaches that come in and do it. So we double up, and it's chaotic. The coaches handle it well.
It's helpful for the teachers, though, for the grade level to be
It
together.
helps a lot, and it means that I don't have to go looking for subs to
Yeah,
get
like
that
Mr.
done.
Yeah.
He's looking for subs because he's got too many, because he doesn't have 6 classes.
Sure.
And, you know, one of the issues with the subs and with having 4 buildings doing PLCs is usually it's hard to coordinate all those on different weeks. So if I would be needing 5 subs and Mr. Carter would be needing 8 subs, that's where the sub issue comes in. And we're usually on the same PLC schedule, or we share some weeks. And you know, if high school's needing 5 subs and Mr. Carter needs 8, but we don't usually have 13 subs in the district to pull from, or 14 or 15, you know, so. Any questions?
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Did we, little feedback on this, I have a short memory, but didn't we purchase tablets to send the kids home in the summer?
For preschool.
Preschool, okay, I couldn't remember which grade it was.
Yeah, for preschool.
I don't know, has anyone gathered any data when they got back to school?
We haven't pulled them back in yet. I can tell you anecdotally that I had a young man in my office who had one. I pulled it in to pull the data off it, and I hadn't yet given it back to him, and he comes in and he goes, "Is that mine? Can I have it back?" Right? So, I mean, it's just anecdotal data, but he seems to enjoy it. So that means they're using it, right? Which is designed to help with our kindergarten readiness that we kind of talked about, so. Okay, Ms. Miller's going to share with us a little bit on the junior high side.
Well, I'm probably not going to talk as long as the last 2 guys. I'm not a talker like they are.
Good, that's important.
I also have a lot more hair than they have, so hopefully.
You just throwing that in there, are you?
Just throwing that in there. I've been looking at bald heads for the last 45 minutes. Okay, so this is my first year being over here at Pocahontas and at the junior high. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here and in this building. This would have been a good opportunity for me to cheat off of my neighbors behind me. I tried to include all the things that I was supposed to, but I hope I didn't leave anything out. Our junior high vision that we have shared so far is just to prepare students for current and future success. Students are given a safe environment to learn, high quality instruction is provided to every learner. We're really working toward getting our curriculum going and looking at ways to bring our instruction, especially in Tier 1, up to that high quality level. Positive and professional relationships between students, family, and the community. We have a lot of new faces at the junior high, not just myself, but there has been quite a lot of additions made this year, which I think has been very refreshing, and we are working to get to know each other and learn each other, work together, and I think that it's really been positive so far for this first year. All students will work to improve their reading and math scores. I think that based on what we've talked about so far, you're going to see a lot of the same trends through the junior high that we've seen with elementary and middle school. And I'll touch on that just a little bit more in a minute. But as far as enrollment goes, for November 2024, our 7th grade is at 155 students, 8th grade 148, 9th grade 149, and that gives us about 452. We've had some new enrollments this week as well, so that number is going to fluctuate a little bit. Our demographics are about the same as they've been over the last couple of years. We have our Asian population, we have 4 students, Black 7, 83 Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders, 20 Hispanic, 1 Native American, 19 2 or more, and then 318 white. Moving on to the hot topic of the night, looking at our ATLAS scores for the junior high. This does include 6th grade in the totals. I could not get it to come with just our 7th, 8th, and 9th, so keep that in mind as we're looking at this. But this is kind of the big picture that y'all can see, but on the next slides I have it broken down to show you the comparison between the state and district scores for each subject area. Looking at science first, you can see that we are below the state in science for 7th grade and 8th grade on that. I'm going to skip over the ALPA. I did not mean to include that in that report. As far as our math summative, it looks like we have about 13% level 1, 25% level 2, 32% level 3, and then 30% level 4. And that is a little bit under, well, y'all can do the math better than I can. But we're still a little bit under between the state and the district. In math, our algebra is a little bit better. It looks like we're at 8% in that level 1, close with the 10% at the state level. Same with the ELA, the trends are pretty much all the same across the board, science, math, and English, and within the different grade levels. The way I'm looking at this is we have a lot of room for improvement, and we are definitely looking at that as a staff. We're having a lot of meaningful discussions about how we can overcome some of these gaps at the junior high level. As we've heard from elementary and middle school, there are a lot of incentives available, and you have to get extremely creative when it comes to incentivizing 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. So that has been a big discussion that we've been having as teachers and staff is, what can we do to motivate and promote learning and successes with our junior high students? We also adopted iReady this year, which is supposed to correlate closely with our Arkansas standards, which is also what the ACT Aspire, the Atlas is going towards. So we did our first diagnostic test back in October for that, and what we figured out, and it was not a surprise to me, is that our students didn't know what this test was going to look like, what the meaning behind it was, and we felt like a lot of students looking at individual scores probably didn't take it as seriously as they should have. So the good thing about the iReady is that you have up to 3 diagnostic tests throughout the year. So they're going to have the opportunity to take this test again and show their growth and show their true scores if they did not put the effort into it that they possibly could have. I'll just give an example. We had a student who is in the 9th grade and was showing that they were on a 2nd grade level in math. Now, if you look at all of the data and if we had them retest, they were really at between an 8th and a 9th grade level. So we have some of those little outliers that we're going to have to work through. And with that diagnostic, we have what's called iReady My Path, and that's an individualized program that takes students where they are from the diagnostic, and it starts giving them lessons that help build them up and get them to fill those gaps within that grade level. So we will be doing a growth assessment to see where they started and how much they've grown between now and December, and then in about February we'll do our next diagnostic that will give us data that we'll be able to compare with this report. And I really feel like when I talk to you guys next time that we're going to see a lot more green on this side and a lot less red. I can also tell that from experience because at the previous district that I worked at, we did use iReady for about 4 years. And that's what we noticed was the first time we gave it, the data was really scary. And the more the students worked with the program and understood the meaning behind it and the process, we started to see a lot more success on the front end. But we also saw a lot of growth and a lot of correlation between the iReady data and the ACT Aspire. So my hope is that this is going to do the same in preparing our students using this iReady MyPath to prepare them for the Atlas assessment. It's a really good program and I've seen a lot of success from it. And I'm ready for, well, actually, sorry, the interventions. We are working on interventions like Dr. Arbuckle mentioned. Of course, we can intervention the students to death, so we definitely want to make sure that Tier 1 instruction is our priority, but we have a lot of things in place to help bridge those gaps between where the students are and where they may need to be. So, as I mentioned before, our iReady diagnostic. The junior high is what's called WIN time. That stands for what I need time. That's kind of something that has just started this year on Fridays. It's a time that built into the schedule where students have about 60 minutes on Fridays to do what they need during that time. The idea is the iReady MyPath is giving them those individualized lessons to help them with what they need in math and reading. We have some students that just need that support in maybe math, or some need it in reading, and then some both, so we split that time during those Fridays. We also take time on Fridays to work on the character development traits. This month, as a district, we are focused on generosity. We have had a different one each month, and we highlight those, and the teachers have lessons that they go through, just quick 10-minute little lessons that they go through, and they talk and discuss, and they do activities with the students. So that's what we do during that WIN time. The ultimate goal for that time also is that we have students who are showing so much growth and are getting to a grade level to where we can start offering more and more enrichment time during that as well. So that's those students who are making the progress that they need and are on grade level. They will get to maybe focus more on ways that they can be preparing for high school, or just different enrichment things that interest them. We may start adding some clubs and just some things to promote the enrichment side for those students who are on grade level. We have our professional learning communities. That is a slow start in this building. We are really working toward trying to find that common time that we can get together for our PLCs. Scheduling is definitely a factor in that, and it is something that we are trying to work through. We've got it worked out to where English and math teachers are going to be able to start meeting together semi-regularly, and then we're going to slowly start incorporating the science and the math into that. I'm already looking at next year's schedule to try to look at those common times, sort of like the middle school does, where the teachers have those common planning times together to make it a little bit easier and be a little more creative on how we can get together to look at common things as far as our essential standards, our pacing, our data. I think it's really important that we have those conversations, and that's something that we are in the very beginning steps of. But that's probably our biggest goal as a building, is just getting that time together for us to be able to have those professional conversations and dig into, for example, in English, our new curriculum, having the time for those English teachers to spend time together, looking at the curriculum, looking at the pacing, looking at which standards need to be emphasized 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And ultimately, we would like to be able to align that all the way up to the high school, since we are sharing a 7-12 curriculum. So, like I said, we're in the baby steps of that, but that is our end goal, is that we're wanting for this to be able to be something that we can meet more than just semi-regularly. I would like to see us in a place where we can be having these professional learning communities weekly or semi-weekly. We do use the Sunday reading system all the way up through 9th grade. That is for our dyslexia program. We have grade recovery, something that is a little bit of a chronic problem at the junior high level is getting students to turn in assignments. If they don't turn in an assignment, that's called an NHI, it's not handed in. And so one of the things that we've discussed in some of our PLCs and our student support meetings is how can we get these students to turn in their work? If these students need more time, how can we give them that time without taking time out of core instruction for that? So we have created a couple of things. One is NHI Lab, and it is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during lunch. And if students do not have their work turned in, if they don't have two or more assignments turned in one class, the teacher can refer them to what's called NHI Lab, and it's basically a working lunch where they take their lunch, they get to leave class a little bit early to get their lunch, and then they go and have time to work on those assignments. There is a facilitator in there who can help them as much as needed. But then also, if students need extra support, other than just getting their assignments done, if they need that extra help with the assignments and the standards, we also offer a working lunch on, Mondays and Wednesdays, where they can go and get extra help through tutoring during lunch. So both of those are offered during lunch, but we've been doing the NHI Lab for about a month now, and we have really seen where this process has helped the teachers be more in communication with the parents, because one of the steps is that if they refer a student to go to NHI Lab during lunch, they have to reach out to the parents and have that two-way communication. We don't want it to just be an email and maybe the parent sees it, maybe the parent doesn't. There's two-way communication going on, and there have been some really positive conversations that the teachers have had with parents that maybe haven't been had in the past, and it's kind of getting the students to take their assignments a little bit more seriously, because the parents are catching on to it before it's the end of the 9 weeks. So that has been something positive. It does help some students get motivated because they love their lunch and they want to eat lunch with their friends. And so if they turn in their work, then they get to eat lunch with their friends. If they're having a chronic issue with not turning in assignments, certain days out of the week they're going to be working on their assignments while they eat lunch.
So it's required if they are missing 2 or more assignments?
It is not required. It is
highly recommended.
Yes, that's why the contact between the parents is so important, because we want the parents to be on board, and we want there to be that full communication of, hey, they're not getting their work done in class, they're not doing it at home, so this is a step we can take to make sure that they're passing the class. Okay. So it's optional to a degree. Yeah, we're not forcing anyone, but so far, like I said, it's been a positive experience from the feedback that we've received. So
good.
We do have a student support team, kind of like the PLCs that we have, that meets monthly to just look at what I call the ABCs. We look at attendance, we look at behavior, and then we look at the connections to our students, whether that's social emotional learning, whether it's just anything that the students need or what the teachers need to support the students. And we're looking a lot at data, we're looking a lot at what are the needs of the students, what's causing these attendance problems, what's causing these frequent flyers to come to the office. And it seems to be good for us to be able to come together and talk about these things. One of the things that we've discussed in great length in these meetings is that teachers need support in how to accommodate all students, even in their Tier 1 instruction time. So whenever they're teaching a lesson, a lot of times when a student, whether it's a language barrier or it's a learning disability, a lot of times it's easy for the teachers to accommodate when there's a worksheet and they can reduce the assignment. Or where there's a test and they can give 3 multiple choice options instead of 4. Those are things that are real easy for the teachers to do. But what we're noticing is with that Tier 1 instruction, sometimes teachers don't have the tools that they need to make sure that they're accommodating even when they're having these whole group lessons or if they're having small group lessons. So that's been one of the big things that we're trying to tackle as we're having these meetings and conversations, is just how can we support the teachers, how can we support the students, and how can we get our test scores up. So that is the junior high in a nutshell. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Very good. Ms. Miller, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I want you to know, those guys don't have anything on you when it comes to the ability to vocalize what you're doing here. So I appreciate that.
Pressure's on.
I know it's what you're saying.
Okay, so Mr. Helms is going to pick his 3 most powerful slides.
All right, slide 1. Thank y'all for having me here tonight. I appreciate it. I'm just going to go through some student achievement for the past year and then what we're doing this year, and I'll try to keep it short and sweet. So, our mission statement, again, preparing today for tomorrow. We hope to accomplish that through collaboration, caring, effective teaching, a viable curriculum, various activities and accountability. Our goal too is to become a leading high reliability school in the state while developing those confident, well-rounded students. You'll see we have school improvement goals. These goals are on our school improvement plan. All students will have a student success plan. All students will take interim tests through the year to determine growth. All students will work towards improving their reading and math skills. On-site and blended learning will be provided to meet student needs, and these goals should provide a culture of a positive and safe environment that creates accountability and learning. As far as current enrollment numbers go, we're sitting at 407 students at the high school. We do have a big 10th grade class that helps account for a lot of those kiddos. You can see the breakdown of demographics there. I feel like I have to go into that for you. It's pretty self-explanatory as far as that goes. Pretty typical numbers that we've seen in the past as well. As far as our state testing goes, of course, we have the Atlas in 10th grade with geometry and biology. It's a little different now. It could be 10th graders. We actually have a couple of 12th graders who are signed up for the biology test. It's an inter-course test. And they did not have biology test because they would have had that in 10th grade. So they had the Aspire. So we do have a couple of those on there. And then ELA, of course. 11th grade, the ACT. And then 12th grade, we are doing work keys. We do have years past averages and this past year's averages as well for the ACT. You'll see at the bottom down there, 2024, our average in English was a 17. State average was a 17.5. That's in parentheses there. Math, the average was a 17. State average 17.5. Reading 17.3. State average 18.6. Science, the state average was a our average was 17.9. State average 18.7, and our overall composite was a 17.4, and the state average for that was an 18.2, and that's that spring test that all of our students are going to be taking through the school. With that, we are, I talk about it later too, our 11th graders are going through a program called Mastery Prep that we purchased. And so they took a pre-test at the beginning of this year, and their average on that was a 16.9. And we hope to see the fruits of that program that we've been told is a very great program. It's much more student-friendly than what we've had in the past. You know, the past program was a pretty good program, but students really didn't like the guy that did kind of the teaching on it and everything. And so we're excited to see what this program can do for our averages there. AP exams, so we've got our different AP tests there. You can see biology, 30% passed with 3 or higher, 29% in calculus passed with 3 or higher. We still are at 0% last year of chemistry with a 3 or higher. AP language, 23% passed with 3 or higher, 41% in English AP Lit, 27% in APUSH, US History, and 15% in World History. And so a total average of 24% of those students passed with a 3 or higher on the AP exams.
Do you have any idea how many students participated?
I had that number, and I just put the percentage in here. You know, so
I know we were up about 40 participants.
Year over year?
From last year to this year's AP. I don't remember the exact number, but I remember us when we looked at it this summer. We're up 40 kids taking AP classes compared to years past.
Is that because of that 10th grade class being a lot bigger?
No, the AP is primarily the juniors and seniors. There are, world history and stuff.
And we will have AP Environmental Science to add to this list next year. That's another AP class we offer this year. So we're excited to see that coming through too. The next page, we start with our Atlas data. And so really the overall takeaway here from all three, the biology, the geometry, and the ELA tests, is that we are pretty close to in line with that state average across the board. So I put that on the slide there. And I think that's not necessarily excited about, but just take precedent of, is that we're right there with the state average. Now how do we improve and how do we get better from here? And those are some of the things that, just like some of the other principles we've talked about, that's what we're doing in our PLCs. We're going to start breaking down this data standard by standard. Where are we hitting this throughout the year, and how can we maybe hit that a little harder, or where can we tie more of this in to our teaching in the classroom throughout the year, so that we're making sure that we hit those standards and students are aware. And so you can see we have level 1, 26% in biology, level 2, 41%, level 3, 24%, and level 4, 9% of our students scored that in biology, which is again pretty well in line with the state averages there, within a couple of percentage points across the board. As far as geometry goes, didn't look as good. 68% of students scored level 1, 21% scored level 2, 8% scored level 3, and 2% level 4. So a little more off there than the state average, but still within 5 to 10 percentage points there. One thing we are doing this year, similar to last year, is a math curriculum audit. We did the ELA audit last year for a 7-12 curriculum, and we're doing something similar this year to hopefully adopt a math curriculum at the secondary level. To have something for our teachers, our students to go with. Ms. Steinwell's been a great help with that, and I appreciate all that she's done to help there.
And I want to stop a minute, because I think that makes a lot of sense when you take a look at where we're at across all grade levels and all Atlas tests. One of the things to take note of is, if your bottom level, so that yellow on there, if that yellow is around 35 to 40%, then that, everything I'm learning, that should tell us that we have a curriculum problem there. If we have the right curriculum in place, then that number will be less than 30, 35%. Okay, so when that number is 68% of our kiddos in geometry are scoring at level 1, that tells us that we need to take a look at our curriculum. It's not necessarily what the teachers are doing at this point, it's what resources they have to do that with. And so that's why, looking at that and doing that math audit, 7-12 is really going to be a beneficial thing for our district. So
we're excited. I'm a math guy, so that gets me excited too.
Right up your alley.
It is, yes ma'am. As far as ELA goes, the numbers do look pretty good. So 27% for level 1, 47% for level 2, 18% level 3, and 8% level 4. I feel like it shows, maybe some improvement now that we're, assessing on Arkansas state standards rather than on college and career career readiness. And so we did move up to 7th in the co-op, which we're tied for 5th. There are 3 schools that are 25% as far as that goes for that measure. We moved up to that from 13th in 2023. And so we're, just like Mr. Carter was mentioning, we're kind of in that top third of our co-op as far as the ELA goes at the 10th grade level. Work keys, we had 89 students out of 125 scored either bronze, silver, or gold, or platinum. And you can see the breakdown there, roughly 26% scored, got a bronze recognition there, 26% silver, about 10% gold, and 10% platinum, which some of those, the gold and platinum numbers are up from last year, which we're excited about. Interventions at the high school, we did also implement the iReady testing for 10th and 12th graders. The 11th graders took that practice ACT, and so that'll be kind of what we measure that achievement on or that growth on this year, and that iReady we'll use as well to kind of determine, how much of a predictor it is for their success on the APIS assessments at the end of the year. We are working on common test data across all classes. That's something we're doing in our PLCs. Is first we're developing a scope and sequence or a pacing guide for each teacher along with unit plans, and then we're going to move into, okay, now that we know what we're teaching, how are we assessing what these kids know, and are we doing that the same in this English 10 class as we are in this English 10 class, and comparing that data across those classrooms. We have tutoring in math and English Tuesday through Thursday after school. We do utilize Edgenuity in our ALE classroom at Apex to get students, if they are maybe behind some credits, we put them in that and get them caught up on their credits. Science and reading, of course, in all of our ELA classrooms. Our academic reading classes, we do have 2 of those at the high school. Ms. Steinle teaches those for us. That's our dyslexia classes. And so we service them through the Sunday system as well. And she teaches 2 periods of that in the afternoons for us. We are still working through, again, that essential standards in the PLC process. This year, our PLC process maybe looks a little different. I've kind of taken a play out of Mr. Carter's book, and we are doing half-day PLCs really once every 5 weeks. I've broken them up into 5 different categories, so English, math, science, social studies, and our CTE classes. We meet once really every 5 weeks in the afternoon to kind of work on those scope and sequence pacing guides, unit plans, and then develop that into working on our assessments and what are we teaching, how do we know that they know what we got, right, or what we taught them, and then what do we do if they don't. And so really in our CTE as well, we're working on some of the new pathways that they're releasing for graduation, the Success Ready pathways, and kind of talking about how can we get students through those pathways and get them some certifications through those pathways as well. The third period activity groups, so what we do is on Fridays, very similar to what Ms. Miller was talking about, we do just a little bit different. 10th graders are broken up into 12 groups, and they rotate through 12 different teachers. And really how it works is we have 6 core teachers in there between, I'm trying to think, we've got 1 science group, 2 math groups, and 3 ELA groups. And so they work through those, and they in the groups that they don't have a core teacher, what would be like a CTE teacher, like business or ag teacher, they administer a Atlas classroom assessment created by that core teacher. And then the next week, so say they were taking a science classroom assessment this week. Next week on that Friday, they would go to the science teacher and receive instruction over that assessment. They'd be able to ask questions, figure out what is the question asking us, what do they want on this question, in order to just get kids more familiar and just get them ready for what the actual Atlas assessment will be like in the spring. 11th graders, that's where they are in 6 different groups. They rotate through 6 teachers using the Mastery Prep program for ACT Prep. And they switch about every 3 or 4 weeks. It just depends on if we've had some pep rallies and we want to give them a little extra time because we try to center all of our pull-outs, like our pep rallies, our academic assemblies, through third periods, so we're not taken away from core instruction during the week. And so they rotate through those groups, working on ACT Prep, and then 12th graders will go to the cafeteria with Ms. Stewart and Ms. Swan, our counselor and career coach, and they do college and career readiness things like a applying for college, applying for scholarships. They really focus on that in the fall because of the deadlines that come up in December. And then in the spring, they're going to focus more towards career readiness and get some people in there to talk about some different careers and opportunities once they leave us at high school. On the next slide there, there is so much more. We do offer a lot of different opportunities, and this is by no means an extensive list, but there are a lot of great things that we're doing at the high school in a lot of ways they participate. So, just my sources and then contact information. So, try to make it quick. So, any questions, any concerns?
Thank you, Mr. Helms, appreciate
I
it.
think we all appreciate it.
Okay, that concludes our reports from the buildings. So I know we've been sitting here for almost 2 hours. You want to take a 5-minute break or? Okay. So we'll take a quick break before we move into our informational items. Okay.
All right, we're going to go back into session here. Where are we at, Dr. Arbuckle?
Okay, so we're ready for our informational items, item 5.1. These are these first two items are items that we'll be discussing with PPC in the coming week. I've got a meeting with certified PPC on Wednesday, I believe, classified PPC on Thursday. So policy 3.10, this is a modification in this policy. The proposed contract language modification that I'd like to ask PPC to support dropping in there is, and it's highlighted in red there, that if a staff member who is intent to retire will provide that retirement notice in writing on or before February 1st, we would provide a one-time stipend of $400 to be paid in May prior to separation from the district. Now, we would accept retirement notices. You'll see that in there. We'll accept retirement notices after February 1st, but after February 1st, no stipend would be provided. And so the idea is that if we can get those folks who know they're going to retire to tell us before February 1st, then we can go out and we can hire early.
Absolutely.
Right? So that we're not hiring in June, July, that kind of thing. And we just feel like that adding that particular section to that 3.10 and amending that policy to be contract return / retirement will help the district do that. I will tell you that in looking at the numbers, the possible numbers for retirement, that would not be an increase. I mean, we could stomach that in our budget this year. So we've got that. We've got the money in there to do that, and so asking or putting that in place won't put us in any kind of squeeze budgetarily. So that is something that we're going to talk with PPC about this week and see their thoughts about that. See if they feel like that providing that $400 stipend would be a positive thing. Any questions about 5.1? Okay, 5.2, we will, at our PPC meetings, I will be meeting with both certified and classified PPC. Oh, it says they're on the 20th. I guess they're both on the 20th. And I'm going to propose to PPC a $500 bonus for our staff members to be paid out in December 2024 payroll. We did include that in the budget. This is a budgeted item already, and so if we're gonna do that, we need to get it. I need to get it in front of PPC as soon as possible, so that at our next board meeting we'll be able to vote on that. Okay. Questions on that item? Okay, the last piece on the informational item, we just, I just wanted to run this past everybody. We have been contacted at the administrative office by Hunter Seagraves. He is willing to provide grass maintenance out at the elementary school. We do that basically on a contracted basis. I just want to make sure that everyone's okay with that we're on board with that. I don't necessarily need board approval, but I would like to just make sure that, that is something that everybody's okay with.
Well, I think he'd do a good job keeping it clean. Has the city said anything about it this year?
No, they have not.
Is it the entire acreage?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Well, it's long overdue, so.
Yeah.
Well, I think it would be the part that needs a bush on it, not around.
Right. I mean, that's primarily what we're talking about. So when we say the whole thing, right, we're talking about really the whole acreage that is overgrown.
Yeah.
Outside of the cookie cutter,
Yeah.
normal grass cutting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Where kids could hide right now, it's so tall.
if we're okay with that, we're gonna move forward.
Sure.
Okay. All right. So the action items, item 7.1, we have our monthly financials there. You have the board report that I typically provide. You have a summary of the revenue as well as a summary of the expenses for the period 4. Behind that, you also have all the supporting documentation, the activity reports, the board reports. Those come straight out of eFinance. And so let me get over here. Be happy to answer any questions about those monthly financials. If there are no questions, then I would entertain a motion to approve the monthly financials.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve the monthly financials. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, our next item, 7.2, this is an annual item. This is the support of the career coach grant, the Arkansas Works Career Coach grant that BRTC has. You may remember from last year's board meeting that this is our commitment that we are covering 50% of the salary and benefits of the career coach that serves Pocahontas High School.
Did we not just do this the other day, it seems like?
Did we?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, good. Because
time's got away from us.
I totally could have put it on there again. You had me worried. So this is just an annual piece, but it is something that we need board approval on to continue since it is committing a portion of salary and benefits. So
My question.
if there's no questions, we just need a motion to approve that district support.
Been a motion and a second to approve the BRTC Career Coach MOU. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is the copier request for proposal. So you may remember, I think we talked about this at a previous board meeting. You have the summary documentation of the proposals. We had 3 different vendors provide 4 bids. One from Forest Office Machines. We had 2 from Datamax, one concerning Lexmark machines, one concerning Konica machines, and then we had a bid provided from Visual Edge IT. You have there a breakdown of the total cost, the copy cost. Now let me tell you how I got to that. That is a cost that is derived from our usage over the last year. Okay, so what I did was I took how many copies we have made in Pocahontas across all of our machines in the last year and provided you a number there based on the price per copy quoted and the average number of copies that we have done for the year, and then come up with a total cash price. I've also broken that down as a monthly total and a grand total over the course of the 5-year window. Now, on top of that, we told the vendors in the request that we would be looking at or measuring their request against 5 areas: cost effectiveness, the vendor's experience and reliability, maintenance and supply services, references from past clients, and then tailored recommendations. So you also have on there the rubric score for each of the proposals provided out of, I believe the total number is 4 out of that. So given all that information, does any board members have any questions? If there's no questions, then I would make the recommendation that the board would consider forest office machines, given
Currently with them still?
we are currently with them. Their agreement has sort of run out. I mean, and the fact is, I mean, our machines are old, and they, I mean, you can't get parts for them anymore, right?
Yeah, this is district-wide, correct?
This is district-wide. Now, I will tell you that, and I think I mentioned that. Let me go back to my notes here.
Oh, sorry.
No, so you'll see there that Forest has provided a proven history of providing the district high-quality service. The services they provide will allow the district to increase efficiency and decrease cost. Additionally, Forest Office Machines provides the most cost-effective option when you start considering the per copy costs and the numbers of copies per minute. We looked at 2 separate types of machines, one that was a 55 copies per minute and one that was a 45 copies per minute. And so when you kind of take all that together, we would actually see an expected reduction on average of about $127 per month, and it would result in new machines for all of our buildings. This would be a 5-year agreement that would need to be re-looked at again in November of 2029.
How quickly will they change out the machine?
My expectation would be about 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
Make a motion to approve forest office machines.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve forest office machines for our copiers for the district. All those in favor say yes. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Future.
Huh?
He's getting it.
Listen, I'm getting good at this thing. Okay, the next item, item 7.4, is a change order on the junior high bathrooms. All of that paperwork and everything has been completed at this point. So Nabholz would like to, or has submitted a change order to reduce the original contract sum by $27,813. I need to, if the board accepts that change order, I need to sign that and get that back to Nabholz. My plan is to do that as soon as possible. Obviously, if there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer those. But this
still going to fix the epoxy?
Yes. In fact, I met with when Nathan was here the last time. He told me he's still holding on to their money, so we got some leverage on them. So we're going to redo the epoxy next summer, and we're going to repaint. We got to repaint in a few of those bathrooms because some of that paint is peeling, and so we're going to repaint over the break.
Why is the reduction to 27,000?
Because that's what he's. Yeah, I mean, that's what he saved on what they expected the bill to be.
I'll make a motion, we accept the change order.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve the junior high bathroom change order. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, the next item you have is fuel bids. We need to re-up on our fuel. You have 3 bids there, one from Riverside Petroleum, one from Service Oil Company and one from MFA Oil Company. The low bidder on that was Riverside Petroleum at $29,804. So administration recommends the approval of the low bid offered by Riverside Petroleum of $29,804.
Make a motion to approve the Riverside.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve Riverside Petroleum's bid for fuel. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, 7.6, I believe we talked in an earlier meeting about the board's desire to do some maintenance kinds of work at the baseball, softball facility. Mr. Green has been working on the numbers for the projects that would be included in that. These projects right now are looking like siding and doors, fence repair and replacement, roofing and painting. While none of the items individually, I think will reach a point where we're going to have to bring those items to the board for board approval. It does look like that the overall project is probably going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $45,000, $50,000. So what I'd like to have is I'd just like to make sure we're all on the same page. I'd like to ask the board to approve a maximum of $50,000 to make improvements on the needed maintenance of the baseball, softball facilities.
And these will be completed prior to the season?
Completed prior to the tournament, yep.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve a maximum of $50,000 for baseball and softball facilities and improvement. All those in favor say yes. Yes. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, so we have item 7.7 is a board policy on school choice. This is this policy language was sent out by ASBA to clarify some of the wording now that the rules on school choice have been sent out by DESE. So you'll notice there that there's some wording change. No longer can a school district deny a student school choice on capacity. So you'll see that we're removing the 90% of the student population. It's now based on a teacher ratio. And this is authorized by state law, state rule, and then regulations. And then it talks about down there, if you keep going, they've changed the date from July 1 to no later than the 15th calendar day. They've changed some of the other wording to when the acceptance has to happen. What a rejected application looks like in that process. So this is language that we need to deal with just to match state law. And so we are asking, because the window opens on January 1st, and we will still, you'll see 4.5F when we get to that is a companion piece to this, and 4.5F is a general companion. We will have to bring back in December 4.5F that it will be specific to Pocahontas. We have to have 4.5F that's specific to Pocahontas in place by January 1 because the window opens in January 1. So this is all due to the change in the LEARNS Act and the fact that the rules for school choice just came out. So given all that, let me go back over here. Given all that, we would just need a motion to approve the change of that changing that language.
Make a motion.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to change the school choice.
Okay, I'm sorry, let me back up. I apologize.
Okay.
Because before we do that, we have to waive the initial reading. Because technically, so I shared that wrong. What we have to do is we have to, typically, we would present the policy, you would have 30 days to review the policy, then we'd come back and approve the policy.
Okay.
Okay? This is truncated. We don't have that kind of time
Okay.
because of what we need to do. So the first motion that I need would be a motion to waive the initial reading of policy 4.5.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to waive the initial reading.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to waive the initial reading of the school choice revised policy. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. I apologize for that misstep. Okay, now we would I would entertain a motion to approve policy 4.5 as updated to comply with state law.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve 4.5 school choice resolution. All those in favor say yes. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, so the next item, 7.8, is the school choice resolution. So each year now, annually, the board will have to approve a school choice resolution. So the first step in that is to approve a general template that the board would put into policy that administration would use to do that every year. Okay? And then what'll happen is we'll look at the resolution this evening. I will ask that you waive that first reading on that, approve that resolution. That provides us a template. Okay? Then in December, I'm going to bring back the resolution for 2025 to the board for approval of that resolution for 2025. And then every year after that, we will approve a new resolution around school choice. Okay? So are there any questions about the resolution? You'll notice it removes some language from that second bullet. Again, it changes we're dealing with the dates because there are no longer July 1 dates in there any longer. Once we get this in place, then next month we'll bring back the specific resolution for next school year.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading.
Okay. Jennifer?
Second.
Been a motion and a second to waive the reading of policy 4.5F. All those in favor say yes. All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, if there are any questions about 4.5F, be glad to answer those. If not, then we would entertain a motion to approve board policy 4.5F to comply with state law.
So moved.
Been a motion and a second to approve policy 4.5F to comply with state law. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay. Okay, just a few updates. I believe it was last time we met, we talked a little bit about bullying and talked about what was, what isn't, that kind of thing. So in an effort to increase transparency regarding this issue, last time, I think it's important that we begin presenting information regarding bullying and harassment reported to building administration. This is data that we keep, and there is a form. We kind of looked at that. I would tell you in the last 2 weeks that we must be doing a much better job of getting that form in front of people, because I think we're getting we got 2 or 3 filled out today. And so that seems to be working. I will tell you that since the October board meeting, The district has had 6 reports of bullying. 4 of those incidents have been addressed by building level admin, and parent contact was made in each of those cases. 2 of the incidents are currently under investigation. There have been a total of 15 incidents reported since August of 2024. Now remember, just because it's a reported incident of bullying doesn't mean that it meets the statutory definition of bullying, but it does require us to, track that data, keep that data, investigate it, make parent contact, and I believe we are doing all of those things. Most of, when that gets filled out, I get an email, the building administrators get an email, and if we're getting those, I would tell you that if we're getting those alerts prior to the end of the school day, in every instance I can think of, building administrators are on top of it that day. Most of the time, or I say most of the time, on several instances, they come in at 3:50, 4 o'clock when the kid gets home from school and tells mom, tells dad. That's when it's reported, and then we're dealing with that on the next day. So I feel pretty confident in what that process looks like. Okay. One other item. On Thursday, I just want to bring this to your attention that on Thursday we did bids for the asbestos abatement and the demolition. Those were accepted and opened here in this building. We're working alongside Todd and Katie to vet the bidders currently. Edmund hopes to have a decision ready for an upcoming special board meeting. I will tell you that there were 5 bids submitted for the asbestos abatement and 8 bids submitted for the demolition. And so I think we got a good response. I talked with Todd and Katie on Friday. I talked with them again today. And we are going through the process of making sure that all of the references that we have on our bidders are, high quality references. Once we have the references checked, then I'll feel comfortable bringing a recommendation back to this board to move forward.
That's good.
Okay?
Were any of the bidders the same for both aspects?
Yes, a couple. And then there were probably one asbestos abatement that's all they did was asbestos, and then there were probably 2 that all they did was demolition. So, and then just wanted to highlight, I know that that says 1890, but after that was this morning, as of this afternoon, our current enrollment number is 1896. So,
If we could on here, on transfers, can we get ends also?
yeah, one of those is an end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Most of the time, whenever I looked at them, I noticed most of them was,
Yeah.
I didn't know if you only just but you're doing in and out.
Yeah, you're getting in and out. Okay, any questions on the district updates? So I think we have a couple of items that, personnel items that we need to discuss.
Okay, this time the board will go into executive session for purposes of employment.
It is 8:26. Okay.
The board's back in session now. Dr. Arbuckle, do you have a recommendation for us?
I do, and just a note, it's 8:42. And so we have a couple of items on our personnel agenda. I'm recommending that the board accept the resignation of Albert Stanton as custodian at the junior high and Michaela Alcorn as a sped aide also at the junior high.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to approve the resignations. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed say no. Motion carries 5-0.
And then you have on your in your packet the 3 student transfers. 2 of those are transfers out. 1 is a transfer in. If there's no further questions, we would just need a motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
Jennifer.